Hello, welcome to the first vlog for Patreon. I'm very excited about this. I just filmed my M&M's TBR for October, so I'm going to put you down. I'm filming the vlog on my phone because I have a lot of clips from my trip. They're all on my phone, so I want to make sure the size of the things are all the same. But I'm going to put you down here so we can talk. This is perfect. It's a bit dark. Let me turn on the softbox. I hope this is better, otherwise I'll make it work on editing. But yeah, I just filmed my TBR for October. I'm very excited. I was able to put the Patreon book on there, so that's great. But I'm only going to start the Patreon book in October. But the other ones I might start early. So today is September 23rd. Tomorrow we have live sprints, which you already saw. That already happened for you when you're watching this vlog. But yeah, so let's start this vlog. I have my M&Ms here open so we can have a snack, pick a snack for you. And actually I need my computer because all my notes are there. I'm filming on my phone, so I cannot check my phone. I'll be back. Okay, so here's what we're doing. I already read all of the stories for the Far Reaches because of the trip, because of all of that. And I want to talk about everything with you. I have a lot of thoughts on the stories, some of them unpopular from what most of you been discussing on Discord. It was hard to not just pour all my thoughts on Discord, but then there would be nothing for us to talk here on the vlog. So let's do that. So my plan is to talk about two of the stories and then do a bunch of clips from my trip and then shoot more, and then you get the gist. But the first thing that I wanted to say, that I wanted to share, first of all, again, thank you for supporting me. And I wanted to say that the reason why I'm filming this right after my M&M CBR is because I have to charge the battery of my camera so I can film another video. I want to film my book haul from Ireland, and you already saw all the books on Discord. So I want to film that haul, but you didn't see the bookmarks and the other tiny stuff that I bought. So I hope that's going to be exciting. But I have to charge the battery because I only have one battery and it doesn't last long. Especially with TBR videos, they're very long to film. So usually, if I try to film two videos in the same day, like one being a TBR, the battery is going to start flashing at me on the second video. So I wanted to charge it before I film another one. Because of that, I'm very, very grateful for all your support on Patreon, because the money that I'm getting for Patreon, the first thing that I want to get is a new battery, so I don't have to wait until the battery is charged for me to film a second video. So that's going to help me a lot, just to ease the flow of my filming, because I wake up, like today's Saturday, it's 10 a.m. I wake up very early on Saturday to get ready and to be ready to film and all of that, and having to wait for the battery to charge is a lot of time. And a lot of really bad time, because I don't have enough time to just pick a book to focus on, to read. So it's just a lot of that time that I don't love. So having a second battery is going to change that, and it's going to be amazing. I have no idea how much it costs. Last time I checked, it was like $80. So I'll see, because I don't want to get a non-official one, because then I'm putting my camera at risk. So we'll see. But that's going to be something that I'm going to be investing the money from Patreon there, and I'm very excited about that. This is going to help me so much. So again, thank you. But let's start talking. Let me scooch over here so I can put the cover of the book on the side. And let's talk about How It Unfolds by James S. Corey. Before we start, my goal with the short stories was first because I read the Forward collection, and Summer Frost was one of my favorite things I've ever read by Blake Crouch, and I was hoping to find a new favorite here. I'm not going to spoil if that happened, but I was hoping to find a new favorite, and I wanted to see what the themes were, what they were trying to explore here in this collection. So that's what I'm gonna kind of try to discuss, what the themes were what they were going for with the themes, but also did they achieve it? Was that successful? And how much I liked it, how enjoyable it was, of course. So let's start with How It Unfolds. How It Unfolds by James S. Corey. This was the first one in the list there, so I went by the order. And I haven't read anything by James S. Corey before. My husband really liked the Expanse TV show. He started the book, he didn't finish it, but he was enjoying it. And I only heard bad things about him from friends. Like Kelsey, she doesn't really like it. I know you're watching this. I know you don't like him, so that was already a bias going in, but I had no idea what to expect. And the premise of the story is that these people are duplicated and they're sent off to the universe to reproduce, which is already a really weird scenario that I'm not very comfortable with, especially with all the discussions that the women start to have, like, oh, we don't need the man, we can do the like artificial insemination, and like we just need uterus, and that's gonna be fine. I'm like, you're traveling to another galaxy or something, and you still are, you're only an uterus, so uncomfortable there, but fine. I didn't hate the way the female characters were portrayed in the story, but that was a thing. But I think the biggest issue that I had with the story is that it was really confusing. So I understand that they were sent, like clones of themselves were sent to this other places, and that I guess the idea was here that they would wake up and they would restart their life from there. So like they were still the person that they were before, but they could be anyone that they wanted going forward. But one thing that I did not understand, and I only noticed when someone mentioned on Discord, I forgot who it was, that they were the clones were actually sent to various different places, and I did not get that. So I guess when we're looking at their point of view, like the main character's point of view, it's different. This character's like it's different part. How do I say this? It's different individuals in different places. So I got the original one and one of the others, but I did not get that there were more than one. So maybe that's what made it very confusing to me. And in some point, the characters did mention that there were other clones around the galaxy, but I thought it was clones of other people, not like the same people. I still don't know. Tell me. Maybe I misunderstood something on top of the other thing. But from my understanding, when I read it, there was one group of people, they were cloned to go to this place, and then maybe there was another group of people, they were cloned to go to another place. But I'm not sure if the same group of people was cloned a bunch of times. That's what I mean. I still don't know that. I don't understand what happened there. But still, I think the theme here, two authors, what they were trying to do here was to talk about how you can be different and you can be a different person, and what happened in the past kind of doesn't matter. It matters what you're doing going forward. But I don't think that was very well done, especially with the main character, because he was obsessed with his ex-wife for like the whole book, and then in the end this other woman sends him a video saying, oh, you actually should be with me, and then bing, happily ever after. Like that was really weird. I don't understand how we went from one thing to the other, because I think the themes are very interesting, but it did not make sense. It did not make sense how we went from one thing to the other. And the happily ever after thing with this other woman, that the whole time the main character was talking about how he had this questionable interaction. I forgot, it was like a questionable kiss or questionable something with this woman that he wouldn't say who it is. And the whole time I was thinking that it was like non-consensual thing that happened, but actually I guess she liked it, and she was also thinking about him this whole time. So overall, I not only did not understand what they like when we got to the first point of view of the clones and they started talking, I had no idea what was happening. It was very confusing, did not make sense. But even like putting that aside and just going by like, okay, let's just forget what they're trying to say and just look at what's happening right now, it was not very good. But it was not bad. Like, everyone was hating it on it so much that I guess my expectations were that it was really, really bad. In the end, I think I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, but it was very confusing, and I did not like the main character thing with the women. He was chasing his wife for so long. It did not make sense. So it was 3 stars. What did you think about it? Do you agree with me? Do you think that what was the clone situation? I still don't understand that. But yeah, that's where I'm at with the first one. Now let's talk about Void. This is by Veronica Roth. And in the Forward collection, the other one that I read in 2020, there was also a story by her called Arc. And I don't remember anything about any of the stories. My memory is really bad with everything, but like even books, I forget what happens unless I reread it. But I remember the feelings that I'm left with when I finish a book. And for the Arc story by her, I remember it was very sad and melancholy, and there's this whole thing about from if I remember correctly, there was a man that was left on Earth when everyone was fleeing, and it was very sad. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that vibe. I've read whatever I read Our Conspirator by her. It was okay, and I read half of Poster Girl. I did not finish it. I was enjoying it. I just stopped reading it, so it clearly did not grab me as much. But I guess the short story format for her works. Very short story. Our Conspirator was short for what she was trying to do because it was a novella, but the actual very short story format in these collections work for me with Veronica Roth's writing style. But it was also the longest story in this collection, so I guess that helps. It helps to have more developed as more with more pages you get more development for everything, of course, and I guess it made sense that it was a little bit longer, and it was one that I enjoyed a lot. Not my favorite yet. So this one we're following the spaceship that travels around the galaxy again, and it's all about relativity, really, and about how encountering people in different points of your life means that they are in completely different points of their lives because of how much time passed on Earth or whatever they were, and how much time passed on the spaceship. And I especially love the details that she put about like fashion and aesthetics and how that changed as the character went to the new place. Like it's just like, oh, I've been here 2 years ago, but for them it's like 25 years ago. So it's a completely different fashion, completely different aesthetics of how what people like, what is considered pretty or anything. And I really like that detail because I think it made a lot of sense, and it was a small thing that really helped make the world building more complete for me. And the whole thing is about trying to solve a murder. So there was a murder on the ship, and they're trying to solve it, and there's no one on the ship that has the skills necessary to investigate a murder, which is a really interesting setup because, yeah, why would they need that if that was never a thing, if that never happened? And it reminded me a lot of the investigation part of the TV show Silo, not the book as much, more the TV show than because I read Wool as to the point where it reached where the TV show is. But I'm pointing there because my TV is there. You don't know that, but like the TV show. But the investigating part with the main character in Silo and in the story, it reminded me a lot. I think the main character has a little bit of the same vibe as the main character in Silo. Again, if you have not watched that, I've mentioned it a bunch of times. Watch Silo; it's really good. But then we have this murder, and I was absolutely sure the whole time until the review that the man that who killed the old man was the guy who called her. I forgot his name. The guy who called her to help the investigation. I was sure it was him. It made all the sense that it would be him, and I was really glad to be proven wrong. It was a surprise for me. I did not expect that, and I really like how it was reviewed because I understood as soon as it was revealed that it was a woman that it was because of the time difference. Because, like I said, the whole thing is about relativity. But I was worried it was going to be a simple, like, oh, I loved him, but he didn't love me back, so I killed him. That would be very unsatisfying for me. But there was a lot of nuance, a lot of layers around their story, like the couple story, and what happened in her point of view and in his point of view, and how that worked. Point of view, I mean, like how much time has passed for her, for him. I think that was really well done. And also what was happening in the woman's life afterwards, how she was not even being considered a part of this community in the ship because everyone thought, oh, she's going to leave, so I'm not going to give her the time. I'm not going to give her time to get to know each other and like make her part of this. So all of that contributed to the way that she was feeling and her ultimate action to kill the man. So that discussion, when she was discussing that, the main character was discussing that with the woman. Uh, Again, Veronica Roth's writing style makes me emotional for the characters in a really good way, and I really like how she did that because I thought it was I really love that conversation with that character. But I did not like the ending. I don't think it made sense for the main character to convince the woman to get out of the airlock and like leave, because she was going to be arrested and she's going to get like her freedom taken out of her because of what she did. So it didn't make sense for me that she would convince the woman to get out of the airlock. There was another book that one another story that I'm going to talk about that I don't think the character should have died in the end. There were true stories that don't think the character should have died in the end, and this one is one that I think she should have. Well, I don't want that for her. I really like the character, but you get what I mean. I think the story would be more complete and more like melancholic if the character had died in the end, and I think it would make more sense because she got out of the airlock, she lived, and then she was put in prison for however long that would take, and like that was just a very unsatisfying ending for me because it was not good for anyone. Not that her dying, you get what I mean. I think it would be a more complete story and a more well-rounded character development for all of them, even for the main character to experience that. I think would be an impact better than like, oh, I saved her, but now I'm going to get her arrested. You know what I mean? So I really liked it until the end. It was 4 stars for me. Even like I really liked it. I didn't love it for the whole investigation part, but the conversation and the explanation of why she did it and what she was feeling throughout her whole experience. I wish we had more time with the character, with the woman that killed the man. I wish we had more time with her because I really like that part. But the ending, I did not love. So before I talk about the next few books, I want to insert some clips from my trip, some photos. Like I said on Discord, this might become like a PowerPoint slideshow in some parts, but there's a lot of photos. There are a lot of cool things that I did that I would love to share. I did not film any clips of me talking there because I was on vacation. I just got wrapped up in the whole experience of the thing, and I didn't want to get away from that. It was a really good trip, a really good time, and we did a lot of things. We went to a bunch of places where they filmed Game of Thrones, which was a lot of fun. A lot of touristy places that were filled with people, even it not being like the height of summer, but there were still a lot of tourists, and especially for the places that we went that had the weather was better than some other times. It was really full. We got rained on almost every day. My rain jacket was very well utilized. That was the best thing that I brought from the trip was that rain jacket. I basically looked the same in every photo every day because I had to use the rain jacket every day. Here's a tip: if you're going to Ireland, bring more than one rain jacket so you don't look the same in every photo. But we went first to Belfast. We saw the Titanic Museum. I had no idea before we were planning this trip that the Titanic had history in Ireland, in Northern Ireland. So we went to the museum and it was really beautiful. We went to Waterstones. So maybe the first thing that we did in the whole trip was going to Waterstones. And like I mentioned, we went to Game of Thrones locations like the Dark Hedges, which are the trees that appeared on the second season of the TV show. And then there's this temple, which is one of my favorite things that we did because we went very early, so there was not a lot of people. It was very quiet. Did a really long road trip. We drove all around the country while my husband was driving, not me. I was taking photos and like guiding us when needed. But we did a whole road trip all around the country, which was very fun and very different. Driving on the other side of the road, which we're not used to. But it helped me. It was good for me because I get motion sickness in the car. So being on the other side, like being in the place where it would actually be the driver's seat for me, I think helped my brain not get into the motion sickness part. I did get sick on a boat when we were going to the Skellig Islands, which is where they filmed Star Wars. I did not go up the island. It was very windy and I was sick from the boat and it was just not the best situation, but my husband did and it looks really a lot of fun up there. But the whole island, just getting there and the whole experience was already so much fun. We also went to Cliffs of Moher, which was where they filmed both Princess Bride and Harry Potter 6. And it was beautiful. One of the most beautiful places. We did a really long hike there. So in the beginning, there were a lot of people, but then it started to not be like anyone around us, like one or two people crossing us every like 30 minutes. But it was a really long hike and it was really beautiful. So I just did a lot, and I hope you can see a little bit here. I hope I managed to make this clip, this vlog interesting. Well, let's talk about Falling Bodies by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the most notes I have, I think, for all of them. Um, but it's a hard one to talk about. I think it's my own first unpopular opinion of all of this because I saw how much you all loved it on Discord, and I appreciate it a lot for what it is, but just like as entertainment, as a story, I didn't like it. So here we have the story of Ira. He was taken when he was a child by this alien race and was basically experimented on, and he grew up with them telling him that this was what was best for him. And the reason why I appreciate the story so much is that the author herself is Native American, and she was adopted by white parents when she was a child and grew up with them. So this is clearly a very personal story to her, and it shows, and it's very interesting how much introspection the character gets. But here's the thing, I think it was maybe too short for what she was trying to say for me, for my taste. I really like the setting. I really like the way that the story is set up, and I could read a whole novel about it. That's why I think this was just too short for me, because I could read the whole novel about this concept. But with the time that we had, I don't think I understood the character's motivations as well as I wanted. There were a lot of times that the character would say that he already like he went through a lot of really traumatic stuff in his life, and of course that impacted him a lot. And he's still a young man, so it makes sense that he doesn't have the mindset to understand what his options are going forward, if he has any. But he mentions a bunch of times how, oh, I tried this and it didn't work, so I'm not gonna ever try it again. I think he mentioned it twice. The first time was when the girl's brother tells him that he has to shoot the senator, governor, the leader of the alien race. He has to shoot him, and the main character is like, "Oh, I tried that, didn't work." I'm like, "Sure, but that was a complete different situation for when you tried that. So I don't think that's applicable. But I feel like that was his excuse the whole time. The main character's excuse for really not wanting to, for the conflict that he had in his mind of not he didn't necessarily see them as enemies, but they weren't allies either. Like the aliens weren't enemies, but weren't allies because he grew up with them. So I think that was his own excuse in his mind to justify not wanting to do something about it. And there was another situation that they also said, told him to do something. It's like, oh, I tried that, it didn't work. It doesn't work. Like, it's not a good solution. But like, that's an excuse. But the issue that I had with the way that it was written was that, sure, that it's amazing that the character, like, I like it when we clearly see that a character is saying something and thinking something else. But the issue was that we were in his head, and we still weren't seeing his thoughts. We were just seeing what he was saying. So the story doesn't explain to us that this was actually his excuse and his conflict in his mind. It was not nuanced enough for me, I guess. I think the story was too short, and the way that it was written was not enough for us to see his mental struggle with wanting to do something about his situation because he knows it's messed up. But also he says one time that he doesn't hate the alien guy. It's his father, kind of. So there's a lot of the struggle, but we just don't see it. We get told about it a few times, but we're in his head. So it would be easy, I think, to make us feel that struggle, his mental struggle and his conflict about those two situations that he's going through. Anyway, that's all to say that when he kills himself in the end, I did not get it. I don't think we saw enough motivation. I understand how that could be seen as inevitable, and that's the only thing that could have happened. That's the only way the story could have ended. because of how much we were told in the book. But I think that this would not have been the inevitable ending if this was a novel. If we had time to develop this character and to develop the main character, the side character, especially the side characters are very bland for me. But if we had time to develop his story and his struggle and his conflict and his options in life and what he went through and what he's going through now, I don't think that would be the ending that we would got. Or even if it was, at least we would see how we got there. But the way that it happened is like, really? Like, we're doing all this, and why are you like, why is that your decision in the end? So I wanted to see more of the fight, either physical fight, like actual combat, but also the internal fight, his internal conflict and struggles, and some more debating and like arguing with people, and just like putting all that emotion out in the story, either in his head, either with discussions with characters, or either with an actual combat fight in the book. And I miss that, and because of that, the ending does not feel for me like it closed well. So this was one of them that I mentioned that I don't think that should have been the ending. I don't think the character should have died in the end. But opposite to the other one, because here, if we had more time, we could have found a way out for him, or we could have really explored the options and found out that that was really the only way out. I don't think we saw that. I don't think we explored other options before we got there. But that's why I think this is age of the story being too short for me, because I would have read a whole novel of this. Just not that it just didn't work for me. But I gave it 3.5 stars, rounding down to 3 stars on Goodreads, because my feelings were not that it was a good thing, it was more of a low okay thing, but leaning towards a good thing. Do you disagree with me at all? Because I know a lot of you really loved it, and you also loved the ending. So feel free to disagree with me on this. I just did not feel that we got there emotionally with the character. And with that, 3 stories out of the way, like I said, I'm going to change so I can film another video, and then I'll film more clips later after I film that video. The camera battery is charging, still not all charged. It takes a while to charge, but I think it should be charged enough for the next video, because I've been talking for almost 40 minutes. I don't think my phone has that much storage space. We'll find out. We're doing sprints right now, and I thought it would be a good time to talk about the other books that I haven't talked yet on this vlog. We have a cat right here. She's joining the sprints. She was very participative on the sprints earlier because she wouldn't let me read, but now she's actually letting me read, and I'm actually kind of being able to focus because I'm reading A Touch of Light, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But instead of doing that, I'm going to update the vlog because I have to do that also. So let's talk about we have 3 books, so 3 stories to talk about. The one that we're in right now is The Long Game by Ann Leckie. So Ann Leckie is the same author that wrote Ancillary Justice, that whole trilogy, and that was nominated, won maybe Hugo, Nebula Awards, all of that, and I haven't read that yet because every time I read the synopsis of that book, it sounds very confusing to me. And I kind of get that same vibe from the story. I don't know if I'm going to have a lot to say about the story because I love it, but also I don't think I fully get it. Let's just go into it. So here in the story, we have this tiny cute slug, octopus thingy. I'm going to call it a slug. I'm not completely sure what it is, but we're following it, and this main character finds out that his race, his whole like people cannot like they're dying much younger than they should, and he wants to know I don't know, they want to know how to live longer like the humans do, and they go to try to find that out. So I really love the narrators. That was completely cute and adorable. There's this like it was very charming the way that the narrator was explaining everything to us, like some things that we are very used to, but with that slug seeing it for the first time. So I really loved following it, and I loved that innocence that this character gives, and I was very conflicted because I thought it was really cute, and then at that point that the main character is like, oh, we don't like humans thinking that we're cute. I'm like, okay, sorry, but you are. So I think the author was very successful in making us realize that it is supposed to be really cute, but then we're like, it's a people and we're just treating it like a pet, like a toy, because it's cute. So I really like when he's like explaining when he's first sees a bird, and then we find out it's a bird, and like I don't fully understand everything that slug explained to us, but I don't think it matters. The point was really being in its head and knowing that there was a monster, and like it's a monster. It doesn't matter exactly what it is. Even if I know it doesn't matter because we're in their head. But either way, that main character, the little tiny cute slug, finds an older slug to talk to, and they start talking about life. And it's all fascinating and it's really interesting, the whole conversation that we saw in that story. But I don't think I fully understand and I fully get all the themes and everything that the author was trying to do. But I still love that main character and I would die for it. So I am very conflicted about the story. I love it, but I don't fully get it. So I'm giving it 4 stars. I think that was my final rating. Let me double check. Yeah, I'm giving it 4 stars, and I think that that's a fair rating for it for me, for my feelings. Like I said, I don't have a lot to say about it because I don't fully get it. But I loved being in this slug's head. That's all I have to say. The next one is Just Out of Jupiter's Reach by Nadia Corfor. And here we have, I think, my biggest unpopular opinion on this one, on this collection. Because a lot of people seem to love it on Discord, and I really did not. So first of all, we have this really cool concept. Like this part I really did love. They have this really cool concept and premise of the symbiotic ships that can turn and like become anything that they want together with the person who is flying the ship, they being bound to the ship. I really like that. I love seeing the different ships and when they all meet and like what they became and how that was important for each person, and especially that they can change both inside and out and like their appearance and just like everything. I really like that. I really like how the ships can change, and that this book with that description, with that all this part, with my Copilot rating, this book actually got the highest rating for atmosphere because I think it was really well done and really interesting. I was fascinated by that aspect of the story. But the actual plot, it lacked everything for me in characters and in plot. I have so many notes for this one. I don't want to miss anything. So let me try to put all of this together. So we have this story in which all these characters are chosen, or they kind of sign up for the saying that they have to be in space for 10 years, and then when they're back, they become billionaires, or like multi-billionaires, and we're following them right in the 5 year period when they get to meet each other. They get to meet the other people in the other ships. And from what I understood, they signed up for that. Like as much as they had, like it mentioned in the story that she has to sign a thing at a point, and after that she was not going to be able to back out. But until then, like she signed up to do that. So like she knew what she was getting into. I should put you down because I'm holding the phone and my hands are starting to shake. That's not gonna be fun in the video. So let me find my tripod. So I think the point of the story was that they would like to show how loneliness affects someone, especially like not having human contact for that long. And we're like I said, we're looking at the story here after 5 years. So because of that, like we've just been through a pandemic in which a lot of people had to be without human contact for a long time. And okay, we didn't reach 5 years, but those people signed up for this, for what they're doing, and I just think it was very forced. Now that I put your little tripod, I can just like gesticulate, and I love that. The reason why I think it was really forced was that first of all, they signed up for this, so they knew what they were getting into, so like they really can't complain. But also they can back out of it at any point. They can just leave and they just won't get the money. But they can leave at any point. But also they are in a sentient ship that has every type of entertainment and education that they could want. So it's not as if they were completely bored and like not doing anything and that they didn't have anyone to talk to, because the ship, they can talk to the ship. It's like, I know it's not the same. Okay, I know that. I'm just saying I think it was forced with this whole setup. And last of all, they have pets. So they're not completely, not last of all, actually. The last of all is that they actually get communication from family and friends and from the other people in the other ships. So all of that combined, I think was really forced the idea that they were looking at how what loneliness can do to a person, because I don't think that was really loneliness. I get that it was isolation and how like that's a thing that we could be looking at, but it was not loneliness. In my opinion. So I think it was very dramatic. And then we get to the guy who kills the other guy's pet to eat because he said he wouldn't be able to eat crab for another 5 years. That's not okay. That's not okay. I think everything was too dramatic on this book for not enough reason. We didn't, like, if they were away from home for like 15 years or something like that and without any type of contact of civilization, which is not the case because they have the ship, they have all, like, they have been studying and they have been like talking and taking care of other beings in the case of their pets. But they have been 5 years away from home and the guy kills the other guy's pet because he wants to eat crab. I don't like that. This lighting is awful. Let me move you. Oh well, look at what natural lighting can do to a video. But still, all of that, even if I agreed and like I was okay with all the things that I mentioned so far, I still don't understand what we're doing in this book. Why are they meeting after 5 years? What are they even doing in space? I don't have any, like, I don't know anything. They're just complaining and being sad about being in space for 5 years when they signed up for that and they can leave at any point. And I just don't understand what they're doing there and why they're meeting after 5 years. I don't think that was explained. Let me know if it was. I didn't see it. I don't get it. And then we have this whole story about her name being Tornado and like why that's her name. And that's another thing that, like, it was way too dramatic for me. She killed someone to save her family when she was 10 years old. And she got a nickname out of it that she hates. And now she's going into this really official like space travel journey. And she's using that nickname? Why doesn't she use her real name if she hates that so much? She doesn't want to talk about it. She's like, she became very famous from being one of the people who were selected to do the journey on to space thing, and she's using a name that she hates. Like, I don't understand. Like, there's a lot of this book that just I don't know how we got there and why we're doing here. And then lastly, before my final thoughts on the story, I mentioned on the other two about the characters dying in the end. So I don't think the character should have died in the end of Falling Bodies, while I think she should have died in the end of Void. And in this one, the character that decides to kill himself on the ship, why? It makes no sense. I don't know how that was a thing that the author decided to do, because they can back out at any time. He can leave, he can go back to Earth and get half of the money. So it doesn't, I don't understand. Like, I get that he was having all these feelings about what he was going through. I just don't think there was enough motivation and enough explanation and enough nuance for us to get from that whole conversation and those discussions that they were having when they were all together to the guy deciding to kill himself, when they were not stuck, they were not being held there, they were doing something that they chose for a lot of money that they could decide to not do at any point and still get all the money. So I don't get it. And then I thought my last paragraph was just final thoughts, but there's the worst part, I think. Not the worst. Just adding up to the worst things. I gave this story, parenthesis here, I gave the story 2.5 stars, and I think I rounded up to 3. Yes, I rounded up to 3, but just like talking about it, I'm going to round it down to 2 stars. Maybe I'll even just give it 2 stars. I really don't like it. So, okay, close parenthesis. The last part of the story, when she finds out she's pregnant on the ship from the guy who ate the crab. That was so cliche. I hate it when there's a big reveal that the character is pregnant, especially when she can't be with the other character anymore. It happened in a book that I read this year that everyone loved. I'm not gonna say what it is because it might be a spoiler, but if you read it, you might know. I didn't like the book. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. And that was one of the biggest reasons I didn't like it, is that the character finds out she is pregnant when she cannot be with a guy anymore. I just hate that. I think that's very cliche, and that's just a cheap plot device that, again, doesn't make sense in the story, because I don't know what we're doing there. I don't know why they're there, and I don't know what they're working towards, and why everything is happening. So I really didn't like it. I'm deciding right now. I'm giving it 2 stars. I don't get it. Well, there's the whole ship thing. I really like the setting. I really like the world building with the ships. But that's it. So it's 2 stars. Maybe 2.5, rounding down to 2 stars, but it cannot get higher than that for me. Let me know why you guys love this so much, because I know everyone really enjoyed it. It was the one that most people loved from the whole collection. So I think it's really fun that I didn't like it so much. That's why it gives us things to talk about, right? I know no one's going to be mad at me for not liking the story. So let's talk about it, because I would love to know why you loved it so much, considering the things that I said. And maybe listening to what you have to say, considering the things that you have to say that you loved about it, maybe I'll rethink my hatred towards it. I don't hate it. You get it. You get it. Now, we only have one story to talk about. This vlog is going to be much longer than I want this vlogs to be in the future. And if I keep talking about other stuff, it's going to get much longer. But let's talk about, what's the name of the story? The Slow Time Between the Stars. This one was actually 5 stars for me. This was my favorite. And I understand that it might not be everyone's favorite, because I even get that this also doesn't have a lot of point to it, but I think it works here. So this one was written by John Scalzi, who wrote the Kaiju Preservation Society and a bunch of other books that I want to read even more now, because I gave Kaiju Preservation Society 5 stars and I gave this one 5 stars. And I think his writing style is something that I really like, even if those 2 stories were completely different vibes. But Slow Time Between the Stars was just a quiet, and it was the same that I talked a little bit about Veronica Roth's arc from the other collection. Like it gives us that sad and melancholic vibe when you finish it that I really enjoy. I really like when especially short stories, sci-fi short stories, leave me with that feeling, because when we're looking at the space, at the galaxies, and what's so far away from us, I like just thinking about that in real life. That's the type of feelings that it gets to me. So when a story can create that feeling on me, does that make sense? It's really good. I really like it. So here we're following this AI robot thing that is tasked to find a planet that they can make humans leave, like create humans there on that new planet. And I really like the robot's voice, and even there are some parts that like you don't have to explain it that long, like when he was talking about how he doesn't feel bored at all. I'm saying he, just because robot in Portuguese it's masculine word, but I don't think there's a gender. But they're talking about how they don't feel bored ever. And then maybe that went a little bit too long, because we kind of get it. Like it makes sense. It made sense really quickly for me. But I love how very quickly the robots, like, I'm cutting you off. Like you don't have to talk to me anymore. Like you're going to all die. and I'm going to continue on my task. Like, I'm going to do what you asked me to, but you're going to die. You don't have to keep track on what I'm doing because it won't matter anymore for you. So I really like that because it's so true. And I kept thinking about if that happened in real life, like with us, if we send a robot to space and like we got cut from all communication with the robot, that's what would have like that's what would have happened. It would be like, oh no, something went wrong, and the robots are like, no, I'm doing my thing. Just like forget about me. I'm gonna do my thing, but you don't doesn't matter for you anymore. So I thought it was really kind of cute, and I really like the way that the robot explained everything because it was very logical because it's a robot because it's an AI, so like it's very logical, and I really like that. And then when he finds the first planet that can be inhabited by humans, and he's like, nope, I'm not doing that. It's not your call. It's not your decision to possibly decimate a species that's growing on this planet just because humans think they're better than everyone. And I'm like, yep, that, yeah, good call. And it's been billions of years. Earth is probably dead by this point. And the robot's like, I'm still going to try to do my thing, but I'm not in the way that you want it because it's not your call to decide what happens to the universe, especially so much long, like after so much time has passed since I left Earth. So overall, I just really like the discussions. I really like the decisions that this AI went through and how it all happened, and the ending that's he's still like, I'm still going to do what you asked, but just on my time and on my terms. And I really like that. If we ever as a race, if humans ever decide to do that, I hope the AI can make that decision as well, because I agree. Who are we to decide that we're better than everyone in the universe? We don't know what's out there. So I think I really loved it. It was my favorite one, so it was the best way to end this collection. And it goes on the top. So for forward collection, Summer Frost by Blake Crouch is my favorite one. Now Slow Time Between the Stars by John Scalzi is my favorite one. And those are both two authors that I want to read more from, that I have read a little bit and I want to read more. There were not a lot of thoughts about the story on Discord, so let me know what you thought about it, because I thought it was perfectly crafted and it was really nice. And it was the shortest one, right? Was it the shortest one? Yeah, it was the shortest one. So my favorite ones were the shortest one and the longest one. So let's put it in order of my enjoyment. So my favorite one was Slow Time Between the Stars, and then it was Void, and then The Long Game. They're both 4 stars, but I think I liked Void more. So Slow Time Between the Stars, Void, Long Game, Falling Bodies, How It Unfolds, and lastly, Jupiter something, Just Out of Jupiter's Reach. What was your order? So I said that when I posted this on Patreon, you should be ready to talk about your favorite one. So let me know what was your favorite story out of them and rank them. I really want to see the rankings. I want to see how much of an unpopular opinion it is. My thoughts on Just Out of Jupiter's Reach. If it is someone's also like towards the bottom of the stories, probably not. But I'm curious. So that's your homework now. Go into comments and rank, or on Discord or whatever. Rank the short stories because I'm really curious to know. You cannot tie them. You have to pick a ranking. You have to pick 1 to 6. No ties. And with that, I'm going to leave you with more videos and photos on my trip. I hope you like seeing them. They're interesting enough to you, even if I cannot explain exactly like story time for everywhere that I went. And as always, I hope you like this video. And thank you so much for the support on Patreon. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me. Bye.